Hello viewers, my name is Adam.
And I'm Aaron.
This is Sticky Me Productions bring you another TV season review.
We are no strangers when it comes to Netflix, or when it comes to Disney Plus material, and seeing how Disney Plus has, finally acquired the Daredevil franchise. It was a very interesting situation to see it unfold, given the fact that a lot of those properties that was originally handled by Netflix with the Marvel acquisitions. Let's just say that a lot of us who are fans of those materials or those shows were a little bit concerned on how well that was going to integrate once they finally integrated the Daredevil to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Now, Disney, through another division on that parent company, have always actually did the actual original Netflix show under their Marvel Television banner before Kevin Feige took over it completely, and it was mainly through a partnership with ABC Studios, something that they also own. So right off the bat, it was just a matter of fact of how well they were ever going to translate that onto the Disney Plus platform, which for all intents and purposes mainly caters to a family audience.
So the whole bloody, gory, frankly, rated R content that we're used to in its original aspect, for Disney to go ahead and say, "Oh, we're going to now handle it completely now," come on now, anybody would be a little bit kind of jittery. So how well does Daredevil, or in this case Daredevil Born Again, translate over now with the rest of the group?
But also, we're all very, very close to 1,000 subscribers.
We just need that push, everybody. Come on, let's join the fun. It's good vibes here, and we can't wait to actually give even more out there for y'all.
Yeah. Okay. So before officially going to discuss Daredevil Born Again, let's talk about Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio's journey into the MCU transition.
When they first tackled the characters of Daredevil and the Kingpin, we were incredibly impressed. Vincent D'Onofrio brings such a unique take on such an iconic villain of both Daredevil and Spider-Man's gallery.
These two, with Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, able to be so beloved that it was it was one of the earliest tipping points of whether or not we were going to continue the MCU if Disney didn't rehire these actors.
It definitely shows that, yes, they are totally deserving of coming back on board. I feel as though they still have it for the most part. However, I do believe under the direction of certain individuals now over here in Disney's playground, a bit of the bite that was originally there from their first go around on Netflix seems to be taken out of the frame now that we're actually seeing them join the larger sandbox.
We had a very brief and euphemistic cameo in Spider-Man No Way Home.
And then, of course, infamous interaction, or at least inclusion we had in She-Hulk.
And also Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And also...
and Echo, of course.
It's a decent show.
Yeah.
It was the first, actually, attempt in Disney Plus to do that TVMA rating.
Mm-hmm. And for the most part, it did its job. However, we're not going to necessarily say that it was a complete success all around. And I guess when we also look at how well the character of the Kingpin and Daredevil, or Matt Murdock, however you want to look at it, is viewed under these other lenses, the major consensus seems to be that whoever is who's actually guiding and directing the storylines and the direction of the characters and the actors in this instance might not have a clear understanding of what made those characters beloved and interesting when we saw them on Netflix.
And in comes Daredevil Born Again. So Daredevil Born Again had a very messy production.
Yeah.
When we were hearing the reports on when they were officially greenlit it and it's filming.
Storylines were dropped, other things were mixed around.
Recast and all that.
Entire footage had to be added in just so it could actually make sense and coherent.
The fault and real regards came from the first set of showrunners of Matt Corman and Chris Ard.
When watching this series, at least with a open mindset and eyes, it's very apparent, at least from the first episodes and actually further down the line, that there really is a disconnect on where the storyline was supposed to go. But this one kind of thrusts you right into it as if you already know who these people are and what their storylines are, actually, mean to one another. And it's weird.
For the people who didn't watch the original Netflix series, it is about a blind lawyer by the name of Matt Murdock.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt Murdock, and something that was not addressed in Born Again, is that he becomes Daredevil after training with Stick, because at a young age, when a little kid, he had an accident
that robbed him of his sight in a sense.
Yes, and that accident involves a truck that had radioactive spillage. Even though that it presents us as blind, he technically has super senses
that pretty much compensates for anything that he was missing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, call this man blind in any real sense.
Especially with the women that he's able to pull in.
It's really interesting. It really goes into that gray zone. Like, are you really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're able to do things that I can't even do, and I can see.
Mm-hmm. Like a proper introduction could have helped. Reintroduction could have helped with doing at least a baseline of book for new people to go into Born Again.
When Daredevil and Kingpin were introduced into the MCU, the way they do it, especially with their powers and their unique skill set, the Netflix series made him very grounded in a sense. Made it understandable. I mean, they did their best to be able to showcase what Matt Murdock / Daredevil and what Kingpin are capable of course. But I feel as though when they were translated over here with the rest of the MCU, at some point, I guess somebody decided they needed to beef up exactly what they're capable of to such comic book levels that it's almost like
it's such a hard pivot and certain degrees of how they decide to portray these characters. Born Again is a revival / continuation of telling these iterations of the characters.
After it seems to be a celebration of some sorts of both Matt and Foggy Nelson, his best friend
and partner and lawyer,
and of course
Karen Page.
They end up going to a particular bar, and they get attacked. An assassination attempt is made. Fast forward after this, Daredevil throws away his persona. He is now just strictly trying to save lives the more nuanced way, or at least the more appropriate legal means of just being the responsible lawyer.
Born Again, talk about the title, is derived from the comic book from the 1980s written by Frank Miller.
Exactly. Born Again,
at a lot of key moments were already adapted into that from the show, most particularly season 3, in the last season of the Netflix original series, in which it introduced Bullseye, or Agent Poindexter, Benjamin Poindexter, who is the reason for the Foggy Nelson's demise. And we see that Matt Murdock is struggling very hard to cope with Foggy Nelson's death, especially since part of the reasons for doing it might have been because of the return of his main adversary.
That of Wilson Fisk, a.k.a. the Kingpin. And he is, in some sense, coming back into the fray himself. Which was, again, one of my major issues with Born Again comes with the fact that it expects that you have actually done the homework and you have followed these characters no matter where they were going around. unless you have a real prior knowledge as to why he is having to rebuild himself, you wouldn't actually really get that. And also grapple with the demons that he's been crowding around with in order to reinvent himself into a new public figure. This time, in this case of running for mayor.
Now, running for mayor is also something that happens in the comics as well.
Mm-hmm.
But as we said earlier, Born Again is very messy due to a very unfocused diversion of what direction they want to take. And a key thing that it permeates not only from the story, character writing, but also overall production is that it is such an imbalance of where the new showrunners, they had an undertaking to take care of.
Yeah, it's a mess. I'm sorry. There's no other better way to say this. In one area, I feel as though some of the things they're trying to do when it comes to the mayoral concept of Kingpin is done pretty well. In fact, I will say this: when the storyline is primarily focused on Kingpin himself and what happened with the death of Foggy Nelson, this doing its job, at least to a certain extent. But then it also tries to deal this concept of this whole vendetta against vigilantes, which is also introduces another a couple of characters within this as well from Daredevil's in Marvel's history, that of the White Tiger, a Latin American hero, which I feel as though that complete storyline they completely did complete disjustice on.
It's part of the reason why I feel as though the White Tiger storyline misses the mark on a lot of regards is because of the show does a lot assuming whether or not you know this character or not. It would have been nice because it's a new character for general audiences to have a proper introduction period for that character. And they try to do that mainly through a police corruption angle, and
then also through another angle, which they try to thrust as a newer angle in the Daredevil mythology, that of a mysterious new villain character, that of Muse, a sadistic serial killer that utilizes art as his main mythos of trying to kill people or use people to use for his art. Actually, when in the comics, I feel as though this is an incredible character to introduce into the series. The problem is he's not handled well. I felt as though when they were doing this character, in certain parts it's okay, but from the vast majority of it, it's just a hot mess.
When we watched the original series, the show had originally, in 3 seasons, had 13 episodes each. This season, like Daredevil Born Again, when it was greenlit, it had 18 episodes. Now we questioned even before that, before it was released, how was they willing to release that because of that amount of episodes, especially since prior to this point they mainly stuck with a 6-episode miniseries type approach with a lot of their Disney Plus Marvel shows.
Now we know how they decided to go about doing that, and that means they was going to chop it up like they always do with a lot of the other series. Biggest problem when it comes to chopping up series like this is that unless you are filming directly for that concept, you are not having enough time to adequately space out the material for which you are supposed to be digesting in each season or just each collection of episodes you release.
The show clearly was trying to had a lot of admirable storylines and directions that they wanted to handle. It's just that the execution is very obvious on the split from where the new people come in and what they had to deal with from the old showrunners. And a lot of it is expressed in the characters as well.
Matt Murdock, or Daredevil. Charlie Cox does his best. Again, I feel as though bringing him back is definitely one of the best things they could have done. I feel as though he was born to play this role. He absolutely nails it every time he's actually put into the shoes of Daredevil himself. And for the most part, I do see the character of Matt Murdock in this series. The problem is, I feel as though with the storylines they tried to jumble together and the concepts of what they were trying to, reintroduce within the entirety of the series,
he felt very more aimless.
Yes, he didn't know where he was going.
And this one, they take a lot more a slow burn approach with this character.
I think you don't really actually see him reintroduce himself back into the costume until it's the 6th or the 7th episode.
That could have worked
if they did it right.
Now, yes, and I feel as though part of the reason why holding the suit again until like halfway into the show, it would have been executed, done, or like at least appreciated well if they handled like
the White Tiger, or his knees a little bit better. Anybody, Frank. I mean, he brought you introduced already the guy that he was going to bring back Punisher. Somebody else had to still be in the fray on the streets. If Matt Murdock's Daredevil was off on the sidelines,
and it would have been better to help better explore a good way to really explore the wider MCU that you now are able to do. That's something you could not have done, and when you did on Netflix,
yes,
to an extent to help better reason ground Matt Murdock's perspective in this new season. Now he is accompanied by some new characters that honestly they don't necessarily. A lot of the new characters don't necessarily get the development they deserve, or at least they need, from like his new lawyer partner.
Oh yeah.
She does not get any development.
I don't even remember her name.
It's unfortunate. You do get the in development as his new love interest, Heather Glenn. Who's
I
a
could
therapist.
take her or leave her. Really, honestly, I could take her or leave her at this point. I don't feel so. And it's not hard. Again, this is not the fault of the actress. It's actually more the fault of the writing and the direction again, because she's given no real.
She doesn't give in a lot of real. She has it's right. She has a lot to do on paper.
Yeah,
but she doesn't She doesn't really have that much of an emotional hook until way later into this season, but it feels a little too late. Well,
Wilson
Fisk, the Kingpin, portrayed by Vincent, as we have said, has done in the second hand to carry the show.
It's almost as if in this series, this is really where I feel as though Wilson was really coming back into himself. And his storyline with Vanessa, his wife, I feel as though that was pretty much the heavy hitter of the backbone of what really made Daredevil Born Again still work.
There's a saying in superhero storytelling that the hero is only as good as his villain. And it's very unfortunate where the hero is having trouble in the storytelling department, but he is completely overshadowed by the villain. But more so with Vanessa's storyline as well, because something that this show does better with her character than the original Netflix series is that they actually gave this character agency.
Yes.
Even more, they really stepped up this character to actually finally be able to see this version of Vanessa Fisk on similar standing point as her husband.
Yeah, this woman is definitely something else, and the way they've written her is just like, wow. Now I really see what Wilson saw in her.
Daniel Blake, very reminiscent of the times, I'll say.
Yeah.
Wilson's Fisk storyline very much echoes a lot of
the political atmosphere that we find ourselves right now in this day and age. It's very evident that the storylines were, at least with his character, are meant to be a mirror and to be held up to the audience as far as what is going on within our own country and with power and leadership across many areas. And you look at it from that angle, it is fascinating to watch. It is something that I believe that is a responsibility for any particular entertainment platform to be able to do when it deals with the concepts of what their audience is going through. It's meant to make you reflect and think about what is going on even in your storyline.
And Daniel Blake's character is a amalgamation of a very frightening vocal groups of people that gravitates towards very dangerous figures. But to express this in the overall production is frustrating because when the show got taken over by the new set of people, the new showrunner hired on 2 new directors. And those are named by Justin Vincent and Aaron Moorhead.
The promise was that when Disney was able to say, yo, we're going to bring our baby back, we're going to make sure we're going to give it all it needs in order to make sure it is everything it could be, i.e., all the production, even though the Netflix series did well with what they had when the series was under their banner, it was still evident that it was still done with less that you would actually saw in the movies or in the series that was supposed to be being pumped out by Disney alone. So when Daredevil Born Again was greenlit and put into production, we assumed that they were going to do the very same treatment with this series, i.e., certain concepts of action sequences, VFX, every little aspect that would go into a big superhero production that you would want it to be in was going to be given to the show. That ain't the case, y'all.
I would love to know if they'll ever give out the reported budget for Daredevil Born Again. Because I will be very disappointed if this is anywhere near $100 million around that range.
It sure don't look like it, y'all.
Because the original Netflix show, each season averaged half of that.
And he was still able to do incredible things.
Half of that with 13 episodes each. And I think you had like a fight scene an episode. Tops.
The fight scenes in Daredevil Born Again don't come near as close as what they were on Netflix. It feels as though we just literally forgot how to really do the action sequences here. Daredevil being able to leap off of rooftops and stuff, they do a few scenes here and there. It don't look good. It definitely doesn't look believable.
Yeah. Like the new directors, they did not helm all the episodes. They only helmed the first episode and the last 2 episodes. And you see that these lead directors when under the new leadership, they do have a clear direction. It's like they're stylized, but yet it's competent. But it's because you clearly see that when you really notice their style, very evident when the middle of the episode, the middle section of episodes 2 through 7, are not nearly as good as
Listen, I think my favorite episode for Daredevil Born Again is still probably episode 5.
It's not even him by them, by the way.
No.
My favorite episode of this is episode 8.
Ah, yeah.
Because it's like from the new, it's done by the new people. But we clearly show that from the original series that they were trying to do somewhat of a case of the week procedural approach, which could have worked. But in order for a procedural to work like that, or it's like a case by case basis, each episode had to have a proper beginning, middle, end.
And that's just something that a lot of this Disney Plus or Disney, acquisitions just don't really do well
on. And also to wrap this discussion on production, the Newton brothers, they are the composing duo of this new show. They was brought on after their great work, fantastic work actually, from X-Men '97.
Yeah.
And they bring in to do the music here. They were able to do their own version of the Netflix original series theme, but I feel as though The way that you decide to use this theme throughout the season is somewhat overused at points.
And honestly, probably overused and definitely used in not the most appropriate manner in my case. So it doesn't feel like it was done well at all.
It's like it clearly shows that they didn't even know a good music competition is only as great as the overall direction of the series.
And the overall direction of the series is lackluster. I'm tired of always getting these seasons of, if you don't like what we're doing on right now, you're going to love what we're doing the next thing. It's not always about what's going to happen next after you're done, what happens next. It goes down to how well is this first foot out the gate is right here and right now. You can't always rely that you're going to be able to do another season or going to be able to make another movie. That you can't keep breaking your business models around that. And to be honest with you, I'm still at that point. I don't know if Daredevil season 2 or the second part, however you want to look at it, is worth its salt for the complete hot mess they did in this first outing of episodes.
It's probably going to get a 1-episode deal.
Yeah.
For season 2. But because of that, as of right now, Daredevil Born Again season 1 is only okay.
But how do y'all feel? Were y'all watching Born Again? Did y'all come back from actually watching when it was on Netflix, the original series? Where do you feel as though they're going with this? Do you even want to come back and actually see a lot of these characters again? It seems like Marvel keeps making these big swings and they keep missing a lot more so than they actually knocking out the ball apart.
My name is Adam.
And I'm Aaron.
This has been Seeking Me Production. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe and comment below. And also check us out other social media outlets of Threads, Instagram, and Letterboxd. That being said, thank you for watching and see you later.
See y'all.